What's up, Fairmers? Welcome to the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. I am your host, Andrea Warner. I am also the co-owner and co-founder of Ferrum Athletic Company. If you would like more information on us, please visit our website at www.ferrumathleticco.com. And now, on to today's show. What's up, Ferrumers? Welcome to the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast for this week. I have the astute pleasure of hanging out and chatting with the Jenn Canon.
Oh, thank you.
What's up, Jen?
Lots of stuff.
Are you super excited for this? Because, I gave you a big heads up on what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Major heads up. I'm so prepared.
As in, I told you nothing.
Right.
So what I want to really talk about with you and what I'm dying for you to tell everybody is basically your whole life story.
Oh, okay.
Predominantly your story with us.
Mm-hmm.
So you have been with us for literally since we opened, I believe. I think you joined us in 2012.
Yes, that year that you opened, later that year, Maria and I, when she was 11 turning 12, that August, September.
Which is crazy because she's now, what, 22?
23?
Turning 20, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, 22, turning 23. It's crazy.
That's like a whole nother life. That's
It is.
insane that we've known you guys for that long.
I know.
And been a part of your family for that long. That's so great.
Yes, it's awesome.
We opened in May of 2012.
Yep.
So you've been with us since not too long after that.
Right.
And you came to us as a triathlete, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Doing triathlons, full triathlons, sprint triathlons?
Sprint and Olympic distances.
Nice. How was that going at the time?
It was fine. When we moved here, we hadn't joined a club to swim at, so we were keeping up with the biking and running, but that was it. You know, so we still did triathlons. We kind of winged it.
Now, I've never done a triathlon. Swimming's the hardest part?
It depends who you are. Yeah,
That's a good point.
and what your background is and your strengths, kind of like anything, like functional fitness, CrossFit, or what we're doing depends on your strengths. Yeah. My strength was definitely biking.
Oh, that was Sherry's strength.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, because Sherry was a triathlete as well. So you guys were in the same boat as far as that concerned.
Yes.
I've never done a triathlon. I've never had the desire to.
Oh, they're so fun.
However, I am we'll just say I'm just not a good swimmer. We'll put it that way. So to me, the swimming part of it seems super intimidating.
Yeah.
Like especially the open water.
Mm-hmm. With the waves. Yes.
Mm-mm.
That could be, very anxiety-ridden experience.
It's given me anxiety and I've never done it. You guys can have it. So prior to triathlons and coming to see us, you are a retired Army veteran, correct?
Yes.
What did you do in the Army?
I was a finance officer.
Look at you being all smart and stuff.
Well, that's because I got the big red reject stamp on my medical to become a helicopter pilot. That's what I really wanted to do in the Army, but my medical came back because of stigmatism in my eye, which at the time they didn't need female pilots. So they were being really tough on their standards, you know. So, 2 years later, though, they're like, we need female pilots. Please become a pilot. And I was like, too bad. I'm already in my finance career.
Too bad. I'm already doing all the finances for all of the Army things.
Yes.
So I'm out. You lost
exactly.
me. So you were in the Army for how long?
For 6 years, but only 2 years active, and then 4 years reserve/National Guard, depending on where we were living at the time.
So. Nice. And you are one of 3 coaches now that we have that are retired Army. You, Max, and Coach Eric.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't want to say go Army because we're also surrounded by all the Navy people as well. So
yes, member. They're just members though.
Go military. Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Just kidding.
So,
we love you, Navy.
You're all good friends.
Yes.
Until we play football against you, and then
exactly.
And then there's a thing. So you walk into our lives in 2012, and I say this mutually because as much as maybe you feel that you changed our life, we feel that you changed our life. Because you, not only were you an amazing client and member and now coach, you've also been an amazing friend to us for so long. Yes. So that's been a really cool part of our journey with you is anytime, like I know that if I need anything, Jenn Canon's at the top of my list.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Which is something that I feel is really cool in the job that we do and getting to know people. Mm-hmm. Very cool part. So you start with us as we were a CrossFit gym.
Yep.
And we were a very small CrossFit gym.
Yes.
A whopping 1,500 square feet. I like to call it the closet.
Yes.
Back when we all worked out in the closet. So
yes.
For those of you who have never been to our original space, 1,500 square feet, imagine a small shop where you have one glass front door. You have one service back door.
Yep.
And that's it. And it's a concrete building.
Right.
And you want to talk about the hottest, most humid place on the planet.
Yes.
And that was it.
And like how many people working out in that along the walls.
We could fit in that small room, we could fit 14 people.
Yes.
In that room. We fit 7 on one side, 7 on the other, and we'd run boxes right down the middle.
Yep.
Everybody else had to be out in the front parking lot, out on the back grass area. Right. So, and it's not like we had roll-up doors. Right. So it was very tight there for a while.
Yeah, it was fine with me. I didn't know anything different, so I just took it as a fun place to be. You know what I mean? Because I just loved it, and I loved you guys. So
yeah, and you know, for those of us that come from competitive backgrounds, you know, myself with the sports that I played, Sherry as a triathlete, you as a triathlete, a military background. Like coming into that environment for us was just like, hey, this is where we belong.
Right.
It was like natural, like showing up to practice.
Yes.
And hey, let's do this thing. And we're crammed in this little bitty room. We're all sweating our butts off. And it's funny because as we've expanded over the years, we have this ongoing joke that we all still huddled together.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to all work out next to each other.
And like mesh on top of each other. So 2 years, 2014, we expand from 1,500 square feet to 3,200 square feet. You were a big part of that.
Yes.
Going to that big transition. Yeah. Do you remember how it felt going from the closet into a bigger space?
It was very exciting. It was just because I knew that membership was growing and more people wanted to do this. And it was exciting to share that with new people. And we could do that by expanding. So, and it was just so pretty. It was so like repainted and the new rig in the middle. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was very exciting.
And we went from having one service door in the front to having 2 service doors in the front, or 2 glass doors in the front, 2 service doors in the back. Yep. Still no roll-up door, still no air conditioning, still roughly the hottest place on earth.
Yes.
Going from small place to big place, I mean, you've been with us through not only building changes, you've been with us through programming changes, you've been with us through a rebranding, you've been with us through a move, you've been with us through everything. Like it's like we've watched you and your kids grow, you've watched us as kids grow as well. Right. So going from being a member and CrossFitting to stepping into the role of a coach.
Yes. When
did you start coaching for us? Do you remember the year?
Fall of 2018, I think? Or was it 2019? It was before COVID.
It had to be 18.
Yeah.
I think it was a while before COVID.
I think it was 18 too.
Perfect. Neither one of us remember exactly. So we're going to say 2018. Fantastic. Yes. It's just you've been a part of us for so long that it's like when you started coaching is hard to remember. Right. So here's a good question. Do you remember what it felt like to start coaching as opposed to taking the class?
Yes. I remember like I remember being extra nervous because everybody knew me just as an athlete, and then going into that coaching leadership role of a class was very nerve-wracking just because how are they going to look at me now? Are they going to take me seriously? Are they going to analyze every single word I say and every single movement I do just because they already know me as an athlete? Mm-hmm. It was like are they going to respect me as a coach versus because they just know me as an athlete? It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And for you to say that is awesome. And the reason why I say that is because you started in 2012.
Yeah.
You had been training with us, working out with us. You had been competing in CrossFit. So let's not fail to mention that you finished top 50 in the world in the open in your age group, multiple years in a row. So you're really good at pretty much everything you do. That's why I call you the Jenn Canon, because it's anything Jenn touches turns to gold.
Yeah,
it's you're just good at what you do. You're naturally God-giftedly athletic.
Yes.
Thank
you, God.
Yeah, thank you, God. You just get things done. And it's and by the way, I never see you walk anywhere. Anytime you see Jenn Canon, she's always running. She runs in, she runs out. She's always running to the next spot.
Always something to do.
There's always something to do. So you'd been with us for 6 years at a very high level, competed at a high level, competed at competitions here in town, competed at Sweatfest, won events. So for you to say that you were nervous going from being an athlete and being in class and you being coached to stepping to what I like to say is the other side of the marker.
Yes.
And now you're the coach and everybody's looking at you, and suddenly it's not so easy.
Right.
It's you don't just walk in and you're like, oh, here I am.
Right. Yeah.
And,
okay, let's start this.
Yeah. I've been doing this for so long. I know exactly what to do, because doing it and explaining it are very different.
Very different. Yep.
And, one of our big things is being able to explain the why.
Right.
So
exactly.
Tell me about how you evolved as a coach. You went from being scared to death and nervous.
Yeah.
To how did that progress over time?
Yes. So I was able to shadow before I actually started, which was a plus. And it was nice because I never felt pressured by you guys to start coaching alone. I was okay, I'm going to shadow. And then there was a point where I'm okay, I should probably tell them I'm okay. And I think maybe you said something first, but I was yeah, just pull the Band-Aid off and let's go.
Let's do it.
So that was nice. And then it was a lot of still me studying all different coaches' styles, the movements, of course, and different ways that people inside the gym moved, people on the internet moved, along with how the coaches dealt with those people in the gym, the coaches in our gym, and also coaches outside the gym, on the internet. So there was continued research. There still is. And so whenever I'm coaching, then I will research those movements and I'll figure out, what's a sticking point or what's a main point or the why, of course.
Yeah.
So it is a constant evolution, I feel like. Each year I feel more and more confident, but that's because I get to work with people like you. And all your expertise and all of the coaches.
Right.
All of their expertise I learn from. So I'm very observant of everybody.
And, that's the thing about being a coach is that none of us believe that we're ever at that top level.
Right.
There's always somebody that knows more than us.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's someone that we work with, because we all bring different valuable insight and different gifts to the table.
Right.
Whether it's somebody on the internet, whether it's online courses, so on and so forth, there's always people and things to learn from.
Yep.
And one of the things that I really like that you said is how to handle people. Mm-hmm. Because that's a big part of our job.
Heck yeah.
Because you can go to all of the courses and learn 72 different ways how to squat. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know how to talk to people,
yes, absolutely,
then we're in trouble.
Yes.
Because it's very much a people business. And I think what a lot of coaches get really screwed up on is that they forget that this is providing a service.
Right.
Every person walking in the door is a customer, and we're here to provide them a service.
Yes.
And that service is, for us, it's education of health and movement, mm-hmm. which is part of our mission statement.
Yes.
And so while we're standing in class, we're evaluating, how do I need to talk to and treat this person? Because those people are constantly giving us feedback. Mm-hmm. So if somebody walks in the door and they're having a bad day, and it's happened a lot, they snap, it's like, okay, do I continue with this person? How do I handle this person? You might have to handle them a little bit more delicately than the person who walks in the door and is like, hey, I'm ready to go. I want you to tell me these 52,000 different things, be super picky on me.
Yep.
I want you to tell me to go or tell me to stop or whatever.
Yep.
Each person has to be handled differently.
Absolutely. Yes. They're all individuals.
And that's a
different
huge learning
athletes.
experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And what one thing works for one athlete doesn't work for all. So you have to be creative in coming up for a different athlete, a cue or a tone or a different movement or whatever. So, but even just simple cues can make all the difference.
Yeah. So. You say shoulders back to one person, the next person you say that to is going to do something totally different.
Right.
They're going to be like, what?
Yes.
I don't get it. So yeah, you have to be very creative in all aspects of coaching. And as far as coaching is concerned, there isn't one best way to do it. Yeah. Let's see, there's 8 of us here. Mm-hmm. And depending on who you get for class, we're all going to do this thing differently. Even though we're all coaching the same movements all day long, the way that I do it is different than the way you're going to coach it, is different than the way Sherry's going to coach it, different than the way Aaron's going to coach it. And that's what makes this thing so great.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that I'm going to walk in and tell these people to deadlift like this. Mm-hmm. You're going to walk in and tell them to deadlift like this. And just that one simple little difference might be what that person needed to be like, oh, right. I've been struggling with my deadlift for so long. And Jen walks in and says, hey, do this. Right. And whether it's a difference in the tone of voice, whether it's a difference in the words, it doesn't matter what the difference is. Whatever it was that you did, that person was like, yep, I got it. And that's what's part of what makes our job so fulfilling.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so even though I'm a group coach, I think of my people in class as individuals, just so that I could serve them each, because I know they're coming in each with their own thing going on,
throughout the day. Exactly. Even though they're coming in and taking a group class, they still get greeted individually. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how you feeling? Hey, what's going on?
Right.
But that leads me to a next point that's been on my mind. It's actually been on my mind for a long time, like years. But we'll just go ahead and spit it out now. Uh-oh. I don't know that you're ready for this, Jen.
Yeah.
As coaches, we are coaches and we are human beings. Yes. And we are not mind readers.
Right.
There is a level of communication that has to happen back and forth between coach and client.
Yes.
So it'd be no different than if you walked in and you're like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, good.
I'd be like, that's not really good, is it, Andrea?
They're like, okay. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if I don't tell you exactly what's bothering me, how are you supposed to know?
Right.
And this has happened for years. I've actually had this conversation with multiple people like, hey, I might be a decent coach, but I'm a really bad mind reader.
Ah, yes. That's a good line.
I am really bad at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, so sometimes I need you to tell me what's happening so that I can help. So from a coach-client relationship, that part of coaching is difficult.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Have you encountered any of that?
Yeah, a little bit. It's hard to know when to, ask a little further and when not to, just because, being on the other side as an athlete, I'm like, well, sometimes I always think they don't want to hear my story, or they don't want to hear my sob story, or whatever, my difficulties, my heart, or whatever. So I'm like, I'll just let it go. Just work it out in the workout. But on the other hand, as a coach, I do want to, well, first of all, that personal relationship, but also to know, what's going on, to know how to coach them through this class that they came to feel better.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's difficult though.
It is very difficult.
When they don't want to say anything.
And there's a lot of times in a group setting where, because as coaches, I don't care how good you are as a coach. You could be the best of the best of the best. If you have someone that has a very individualized problem, that's really hard to address in a group setting. Mm-hmm. So if you have someone who has a really angry elbow,
right,
and they just keep rubbing their elbow, and what's programmed for the day is all elbow intensive stuff, pull-ups, rows, push-ups, whatever, and they keep rubbing their elbow and they're getting more and more frustrated, you're also responsible for 15 other people in the room.
Exactly.
So you can't walk over and write out and give personalized, individualized attention to someone long enough to address their elbow issue, while also taking care of the other 15 people in the room.
Right.
So the best a coach can do, the best of the best any coach can do, is say, hey, instead of this, do this. Mm-hmm. But that's not solving the problem.
Right.
Right? Which is part of the reason why we have our personal training stuff. Because that is where we address those individual problems and we allow the group to be a group.
Yes. Yes. And if it's an ongoing problem, absolutely. So sometimes I have to figure out, has this been going on for a while?
Yeah.
Or not, or if it's just like a all of a sudden thing.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Speaking of elbows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's talk about elbows. Let's talk about a foot.
Yeah.
So Sherry and I have talked about it on our podcast. Like I've put it on my social media that I have not hidden the fact that we went through injuries.
Yes.
When we went through hard times. Sherry's much more difficult than mine. Tearing a shoulder and still being expected to be a coach and do things like pull-ups, muscle-ups, that expectation can send people into a very deep, dark depression, right? For you, going through your competitive times, I've seen you with an angry shoulder.
Yes.
I've seen you with a fired up elbow. I've seen you in a boot.
Right.
Let's talk about Jenn Canon, the athlete.
Yes. Yes, I've had all those things when we were doing doing CrossFit competitively. And I just loved competing and I loved CrossFit so much. Those were just extraneous details.
They were risks that we were willing to take.
Yes, exactly.
We knew that they were possible, and we accepted that was part of the journey.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your foot. Mm-hmm. What happened? You strained, tore?
Like I just strained the plantar on the bottom of the foot. It wasn't plantar fasciitis. It was in the middle of the sole of the foot. And it was while it was a jump rope, while we were still CrossFit, jump rope, box step-ups with weight workout. And it just just a harsh pain. And I tried to just let it go. I tried to just let it heal on its own. But nothing worked until I stopped and let that foot heal itself. I put it in a boot.
Yeah.
And let it do its job. And since then, it hasn't ever bothered me again. But that was also the time that we were slowly changing our programming. You know what I mean? It was like the beginning of what we do now.
Yeah.
Which I think helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it also helped with my elbows.
Elbows, plural.
And definitely my shoulder. And my knee was always, so I had ACL surgery back when I played soccer, long before CrossFit. But, so I had ACL surgery. And I recovered from that, but I never had full range of motion in it. And it always bothered me. CrossFit helped out a lot with not hurting, but my range of motion was still very poor, even through CrossFit. But now I have almost like full range of motion both ways in that knee, and it doesn't hurt ever. You know what I mean? So
that's fantastic.
It is awesome. So what I'm getting at is like this programming, I'm definitely feeling much better.
Right.
And it's an hour that I could come when I do work out to know that I'm not going to be broken down to pieces.
Yeah.
And then I can like plan things afterwards through my day. So it's been a godsend. Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done, we train to compete and we train to play in sport.
Which I love.
And which we love.
Yeah.
You and I are both very competitive by nature. You have been on more than one of my teams.
Yes.
Which is a very special feat. So to anyone who's ever been on a team with me, I just deeply apologize.
Yes. No, it's so fun. It's an honor.
Some people might disagree with that, for sure. I am not the nicest teammate. My over-competitiveness definitely took over on more than one occasion. So to all of those that I yelled at and potentially pushed and or kicked, I deeply apologize. Jen's the only one that's like, it was great. It was great.
Because I totally understand.
Melissa's listening to this podcast going, it sucks. It's awful. Never again. But we trained for sport. Yeah. And we knew that every day when we came into the gym, we were training to try to be better for competition.
Right.
We had this end goal in mind.
Yep.
Like it was the open and whatever came past the open.
Definitely, yes.
Right? So every day we walked into the gym, it's like, what do I need to do today to be better for February, March, whatever, whenever it was. That was like our eat, sleep, live, breathe for a couple of years.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes.
Shifting from training for sport and training for health look almost polar opposite. They look very different.
Right.
Right? Because now we're not concerned with what do I need to do right now that's going to show up in competition that I need to be able to do 1,000,000 reps of.
Right.
And still not be tired. And then be able to do something even harder after that, whether it's a heavier weight, whether it's a more high-skill gymnastics.
Yep.
There was always a stepping stone to that.
Yep.
So to shift our why from competition season and sport to longevity, like, hey, now the goal is like, I want to be pretty badass when I'm 65, 70,
Yes.
80 years old. And by badass, I mean, like, I really don't need to squat clean 190
Right.
when I'm 65 years old. However, what I'd like to be able to still be doing is squatting, deadlifting, going up and down the stairs without knee pain, doing the things that I want to do in my daily life.
Right.
Without having to worry about if my knees are going to make it, if my back is going to blow out picking up the laundry basket. Those are things that people really don't think about when they're in their, we'll say 30s and 40s, because in your 20s, you're whatever.
Yes.
But
Not thinking that.
in your 30s and 40s, and the reason why I bring our 30s into it is because that's when sarcopenia starts, which is age-related muscle loss. It starts in our 30s. And it's there with us for the rest of our life. Right. So each year we lose a percentage of our muscle mass if we're not paying attention.
Right.
And then suddenly you wake up and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yes.
I'm like,
Yep.
and people walk in here and they're like, so now I'm 46 and suddenly I don't recognize myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it happens faster than people realize.
Oh, yes.
So let's talk about this. So for you and I'd like for you to discuss that switching from competitiveness into health, how it felt for you, because there's also a range of emotions that go with that. Yes. There is, one of the hardest things for athletes to do is to say, okay.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's time. There's a reason why NFL players retire and then come back and then retire and then come back and retire. It becomes part of our identity.
Right.
Like, hey, I've played sports my whole life. For me to say, okay, I'm ready for the next step, you almost have to like fight with that small identity loss.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. So so it was gradual enough for me, this whole like change, from CrossFit, hardcore CrossFit to longevity like we have now. So it was nice to be a part of the whole gradual couple years experience. So I was able to ingest it slowly because I didn't particularly like it at first.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I am competitive and I'm like, I love the whiteboard. I love going into that dark zone. I love doing a little bit better than I did some other time, with the same workout. Just being competitive and wanting to compete all the time. That was just part of my daily life. And so, but slowly going into it and learning about all the benefits of this type of practice now, this type of working out, this longevity, it's just so much smarter. And I feel so much better. While still being able to do everything that I normally do in a normal day. So, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Right.
But I look back and I'm like, it was a little hard, and it took me a while to just, I guess, accept, but I was never against it. I was always open. Because I remember at certain times thinking to myself, this is when we were in the hardcore CrossFit competitions or competitive time, how long is this going to go on for? How long can I sustain this? And it would come up every once in a while. You have your good days and your bad days. So
right.
That's why I was like, how long am I going to be able to do this? And I look back on those days and I'm like, you weren't going to be able to sustain this. I remember having a conversation with Sherry. I was at the door, one of those glass doors of the old gym, and just saying like how the games athletes, the older games athletes, they're never really fully healthy. And so we were talking about, do we want to be not healthy but win, or even not necessarily win? You know what I mean? Just trying to win all the time but not being healthy. So what we really want, and we were like, are we really going to get to the games and all this stuff? So It was kind of eye-opening, and we were like, I was definitely like, okay, that was another step towards, accepting the gradual change in programming. And and so I do definitely love now that I can come in and do an intense workout if I need to, or if I want to, or if I'm ready, versus some days I just kind of do what I have to do. But I'm never pressured to get a new record or go hard. The only thing that I try to do all the time, and that I feel is okay now, is to do things for form, like do the form correctly. Mm-hmm. I don't have to get as many reps, but I do need to do the correct form. So that is my goal now, is to do it all full quality, rather than how many reps can I get and not necessarily do them all correctly or healthily.
Yeah.
That big healthily is what I'm trying to get at.
Absolutely. And there's such a huge misconception that, well, Jen, you only did 68 reps instead of 100.
Right.
So therefore, you didn't have as good of a workout as the person who did 100. So therefore, you didn't burn as many calories. So therefore, that person probably burned more fat, and they're going to lose weight faster than you.
Right.
Is this big, mythical, let's just talk about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Right? This person A who did 100 reps as fast as they could with whatever form, Jenn Canon standing here doing her 68 reps with amazing form.
Right.
Which one changes faster?
Jenn Canon.
Jenn Canon. That's right. And Jenn Canon's saying that not just because she's Jenn Canon, but she's also saying that because she knows that in order to do things right, you actually recruit more muscle fibers.
Right.
The more muscle fibers you recruit, the more lean muscle mass you build, as long as your nutrition is in line with that.
Right.
Ergo, the more calories you are going to burn over a longer period of time, the faster your body will change if you're looking for a recomposition, let's say body fat percentage loss, muscle gain, which we're all looking for as we age. Yep. Men, women, the whole 9 yards. You guys should be looking for lean muscle mass.
Yes.
To protect you well into your aging years.
Exactly.
The person over here who did 100 reps as fast as they could, sure, they did more reps than you. But if they did them all as fast as they could, they didn't control the lower, they used fewer muscle fibers, they're actually going to get a diminishing return. They're not going to put on as much lean muscle mass. They're actually going to overload connective tissue, increasing their chance for injury, so on and so forth. It's going to take them longer to see results, and they might be in more pain than Jenn, who's over here doing her quality reps with her amazing form, even though she does less.
Yes. Right.
Cheers to that.
Now, sometimes, being so competitive, it hurts a little bit, but in the end, I'm like, well, why am I here? Why do I keep coming back? It's because I want to be healthy and burn those calories and this and that. So it's not that pressure of being the best anymore. It's very
and that
comforting.
That does become pressure because it doesn't matter what sport you play. So whether you and I have been talking about CrossFit, but this really pertains to every sport. I just watched the Masters this past weekend with guys that were 63 years old, guys that were 19 years old.
Yep.
If you watch the difference in the ones coming up, the ones that are excelling in the middle, the ones that are 63 getting ready to retire, there's a longevity in every sport. Golf, football, basketball, CrossFit, doesn't matter. There is always going to be a point of diminishing returns. Right? And it doesn't matter the sport. Because in order to stay at a high level, the risk is so high, no matter the sport, that you have to give up something in order to stay at that level.
Right.
So for some of those professional athletes, it's family. There's a sacrifice of family. There's a sacrifice of health, as you and I talked about. Yeah, you're winning, but this person over here has had ACL surgery, knee surgery. 5 years from now, after they retire, they're going to have to replace both of their hips. When they're 15, 20 years from now, they might be walking with a cane.
Right.
But they were really badass at their sport when they were 42.
Right.
And I say this because if we could all see what our life was going to be like 20 years from now, how would we change the decisions we make right now?
Exactly. Yes.
For me personally, watching my grandparents age and seeing them not be able to sit down and stand up on their own, that's really big.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big goal. And I know you have witnessed family as well go through some really hard health problems, and all you can think about is, man, I really don't want to do that.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. And it's a very real possibility for all of us if we don't realize that where all of this starts is in our 30s and 40s.
Yes, definitely.
Like I said, potentially in your 20s, but we're all too stupid in our 20s.
Yeah, they're not going to listen anyway.
Yeah, they're not going to listen anyway. Everybody in their 20s knows what they're doing anyway. Wait until you're 42 and you're like, oh, wait a second, I know nothing.
Yes.
Let's just start over with I know nothing. So movement for longevity.
Yes.
Far different than movement for sport. And
yes,
as you mentioned, pressure.
Yes.
Right? So we would come into the gym and I can still tell you what all of my lifts were. I can tell you what my workout times were.
Yeah.
On different workouts. And that feeling that you get when it's like, the last time I did this workout, I did it in 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Good old Fran.
How did you know?
Oh, everybody loves her.
Love her. Just thinking about what I would have to do to beat that time.
Ooh, that's painful.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That is exactly it.
Right.
And if I'm not training to compete anymore, and I'm doing this for my health, in order for me to beat that time, I'm going to have to put myself into a deep, dark cave.
Yeah, right.
And for those people that have been into deep, dark caves mentally, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Coming out of the deep, dark cave. Like when you're in it, you really don't feel anything.
Yes.
But as you come out of it and you're rolling on the floor, and if people understood what that does to our body on multiple levels, let's just skip muscles, joints, connective tissue. We'll ignore all of that. We'll talk about hormones.
Yeah.
Like diving into that deep, dark, painful cave every single day. And by the way, if none of you have ever seen Jenn do bar-facing burpees,
my favorite.
It's like watching poetry in motion. However, it comes to a point where you're like, I'm pretty sure Jenn's gonna die. This is where Jenn dies. Somebody needs to have an AED ready, because you literally have, when you're in competitive mode.
Yeah.
And I used to love to watch you do this, because I'm like, I don't even know how she's able to even walk right now, much less continue to do burpees or cleans or bar muscle ups or whatever.
Yeah.
Just the look on your face was
Yes, I'm not a very pretty competitor.
was painful.
Yeah.
But when you have the heart of a competitor, that's what it takes.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I will like cut off a leg
Yes.
to win this thing.
Yes.
Right. However, as you said, continuing to do that day in and day out,
Yeah.
it will wreak havoc on not just tissues.
Right.
You know, there's hormonal things to take into account there too.
Yes. And I noticed the past couple months that my resting heart rate has completely changed from years. So for years and years, well, since I've been looking at it, many years when we were competitively CrossFitting, it was high on, like you would think that I was a couch potato, what it was. And I just thought that was my personal resting heart rate. But now it's gone down like at least 4 beats on a consistent basis. So
4
it's like
beats a minute's a lot.
yes. And so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe something it was needed, or the change is actually making a difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
What was your resting heart rate?
it was like 60 to 62 consistently. But now it's like 56 to 58 in
Nice.
that range. Yeah.
So 4 beats a minute on a heart rate, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how many minutes there are in a day.
Yes.
Do the math on that.
Exactly.
That's, as my Paul would say, you're saving your heart rate, your heartbeats.
There you go.
The less heartbeats you have, the longer you're going to live.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So that it was always a little concerning for me. I mean, but I just ignored it. Again, it was the risk versus reward thing that I've been talking to my competitive gymnast daughter about recently. How much do you want to put yourself through versus the reward that you get from your sport? So, yeah. And so depending on what you want to do.
Yeah. And speaking of your amazing children, you have 3 daughters.
Yes.
You have, the youngest is Bria Rose, who is an unbelievable gymnast.
Thank you.
Who is basically dominating the state of Florida right now.
Yeah, she's second in Florida, which is amazing. At the state meet, she came second. Amazing.
13?
Yes, 13.
Yes, I got that right.
Level 8 gymnast, yeah.
Then we have the middle child, Maria,
Maria.
who is a pilot in the Air Force.
Yeah, she's actually not the pilot. She took pilot lessons, but she is a combat support officer.
Oh, fantastic.
So she will, in the Air Force. So she will be in the plane, but not flying it. She'll be in charge of the mission of the plane.
And then
Victoria will be flying.
We have the oldest one, Victoria, who is pilot.
Yes, in the Air Force.
In the Air Force.
Yep.
3 unbelievably successful daughters that there's no way that you could be even any more proud.
Thank you, yes. Because I'm very proud of them.
I'll say, I'm proud of them, and they're not even mine.
That's so nice.
But it's been great because especially Maria, who worked out with us for so long.
Yes.
We feel like we are a part of your family.
Yes, you are. Absolutely.
And to see them literally, to be with people long enough that you've seen their children grow.
Yes.
Into extremely successful adults is really cool.
Yes. It's a real gift to have been part of the Ferrum family, literally. And and Maria, I know Maria is very, very grateful for her experience here, and she still feels a part of this place. And she shadowed, interned as a CrossFit coach when she was in college, so that was cool.
That's awesome.
And so it's really great to grow together.
Absolutely. And what I think is even more cool is that they have a mom who can guide them through their life, whether it's competitiveness, whether it's health and longevity. Like, you have so much perspective that you can give them because you've been a competitive athlete at multiple sports.
Right.
You have been a coach. You've dealt with people. You've dealt with hard situations. You've dealt with hard things in your life. I mean, you have been through a ton of things.
Yeah.
So this is my message to your 3 daughters, that if they ever don't take your advice.
That's awesome. Keep talking, Andrea.
I'm going to step in and be like, guys, your mom, she knows her shit. Listen to her.
That's so nice.
You've been through a lot, and you are absolutely incredible to have as a friend, have as a coach on our team.
You guys too.
Have as an athlete in our gym.
Yeah, it's an honor. It really is an honor to be part of Ferrum, and you guys are just amazing. And I feel so empowered by each of you guys, and the team and the members. You bring me not just encouragement and yay, but like I can conquer the world. So it's my happy place.
Oh, that's
Ferrum
awesome.
is my happy place.
Well, on that note, thank you for speaking with me today.
Yes.
So I know you're on social media.
Yeah. Facebook?
Facebook. Do you know your Facebook?
Jennifer Canon. Yeah. I didn't use my maiden name, so.
Look at you.
Jennifer Canon.
Man, that's such a tough one to remember.
Yes.
Well, Jen, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll
it was an honor.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. If you like the show, please leave us a review, share it with your family and friends, share it on your social media platforms. Our mission is to build better humans through the education of health and movement. If this resonates with you, please shoot us an email at forged@ferrumathleticco.com. Follow us on social media, Facebook or Instagram at Ferrum Athletic Co. And we will see you all soon. Thank you for helping us to build better humans.